So before we start, I want to define a few terms for you, just in case you are super new. Dissociation. It happens to everybody, and this isn't like a definite definition. It's just kind of generalized. So it does happen to everybody in varying, I don't know, intensity. So the most common form of dissociation would be driving home and your brain going on autopilot. You get home and you're like, I didn't remember the drive at all. How did I get home? How do I have a driver's license? So that's the mild form of dissociation. For us, it's like, I don't know, blanking out so bad that you really have no clue what went on, instead of, I know I drove home and I know I got here safe. You might end up down the street and you're like, I have no clue how I got here. I have no recollection of anything I was just doing. Help. And fronting. Fronting is what it means to be occupying the body. System. System is anybody with, I'd say, 3 or more identities. So yeah, that's definitions for you, very non-looked up, but our forms of what they mean. So our first question is, how is DID formed? So the most common way would be for repeated severe childhood trauma. And while that is true, probably 95% of the time, there is times that one event can cause a fracture, such as a near-death experience as a very young child. That can cause a fracture. A little, side topic for this one is adults can form DID. It's just not seen very often because as you mature and get older, your brain matures, and the ways it deals with certain situations also matures. So your brain doesn't say, oh, let's leave the body because this is too intense. It's more of, let's panic every time something happens now. Young age, DID is more likely, and at an older age, PTSD is more likely. But in very severe cases, it can happen in adults. It's just not very often. The next thing that I'm going to touch on is, does amnesia have to be a thing? Now, for a DID diagnosis, and not an OSD diagnosis, OSDD diagnosis, yes, it does. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to be having amnesia barriers all the time. It can mean that amnesia barriers can happen. Every case is with varying levels. So for us, we have minor amnesia. If we peek out, we can see it's not like somebody's completely blocking us off. Now, yesterday we actually had an episode where we went 4 hours with an amnesia barrier. Nobody knows what happened. It looked like we just sat on the bed. If you have OSDD, you don't have to have amnesia barriers. Is DID rare? No, it's definitely not. It's more common than any medical professional will admit, because it's hard to diagnose and there's such a stigma around it. DID is very underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed, and this results in systems like us without a diagnosis. Our therapist saw us for 3 months and never gave us a diagnosis. So our last and final question is DID a choice? And I don't see any logical reason why anybody would say this. Why would somebody choose to have DID? Now, just like depression, PTSD, anxiety, multiple other mental health illnesses. It's not a choice. You're not choosing to have it. You didn't choose to go through the abuse you went through to have it. It's not like choosing chips or soup. I don't know how to put it any more simply for the people who don't understand. Um, and it doesn't just come and go. You can't say, oh, everything's pretty much quiet, or oh, I have it today. Like it's there. From the abuse, from your fracture, it's always there. And it was caused by a traumatic event. And that's why, to us at least, this is our very personal opinion, that's why endogenic systems are so maddening to probably most of the DID community. I don't want to generalize everybody, so don't hate me. That's just my personal opinion. The medical field really likes to dehumanize DID, such as calling alters identity confusion. And maybe that's a medical term, but it feels a lot like saying we're faking. And that goes up into, we went through trauma. Why? Why would we be faking that? That's all I really have today. And I want to thank you guys so much for over 800 subscribers. It's so awesome to see us grow so much in such a short period of time. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Like and subscribe if you want to. And ring that bell. Have an awesome day.